Okay, this is going to be a video on how to work in layers to enhance your project. There are many ways to do this, but I'm just going to give you a couple of tricks, and I would encourage you to explore different options of doing this. So I'm going to show you how we're going to start with a basic black and white image. Now, one of the things that I may have neglected to tell you is that uh, once you've changed it to grayscale, you need to go back to RGB. Don't work in CMYK because in CMYK some of the filters don't work. So you want to revert back to RGB before you start making any layers or doing anything like that. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how we can construct an image, and I'm going to bring up these other layers so you can see what I've done. So basically I was able to make a layer of her eyes and a layer that was cut out, and then I did a background layer that was this sort of twirl effect. So I'm going to show you how to do all that stuff. Okay, so here we go. Start with a new file. So again, I've converted it from grayscale. There I'm in grayscale. I'm going to convert it to RGB. All right, and I'm going to do this before I start making other layers. So I'm going to make one more background layer because that's the layer, and I'm going to keep this layer, but I'm going to click it off. Right, and now I'm going to work on this layer. So the first thing I want to do is get rid of some of this background information. So this is a way I'm going to make a new layer via cut. And one of the easiest tools to work with is the quick selection tool right here. And it's behind, it may be behind the magic wand, so it looks like a little brush. What's nice about it is you click on it and you just click and drag, and it goes by contrast. So there's one area. Now I'm going to hit the shift key to add to the selection, and I'm going to do this. Now, see this weird little area here? I'm just going to nudge it over. All right. So what I want to do is I want to cut this out, but really what I'm doing is saving her face. So I'm going to go select, and then I'm going to select the inverse. And then I'm going to go layer, new, via cut. And what you'll see is if you look up here, there's now another layer, and there it is. So if I get rid of her, there's that layer, and then so I can get rid of this layer, and there's her face. So that's what I want. I want this upper layer without the background. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of this layer. So I can either be on that layer and go layer, new, via copy, or I could just do duplicate layer. Okay, and there it is. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter this layer, and I'm going to go ahead and filter it with crystallize. So I'm going to go filter, pixelate, crystallize. I can look at it, maybe I'll make it a little bit bigger, hit OK. And what I want to do is select just the eyes. So again, I'm on the quick selection tool, and I'm going to select, I don't want all of that, so hit Command Z to go back. I want that right there, all right? And then I'm going to hit the Shift key, and I'm going to increase the selection. Go ahead and nudge it over a little bit this way. That's pretty good. That's good. Okay, and then I'm going to go layer, new, via cut. All right, so it cuts it. There's the eyes up there. So if I deselect the layer I had filtered, now we see the crystallized, just the crystallized in her eyes. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I just want to do one more step. So I'll get rid of the eyes, and what I want to do on this layer is I'm going to do a cutout. So I'm going to go correct layer, filter. I'm going to go to filter gallery. I'm going to go to cutout. Minimize this so I can see what it looks like. And I had set it like that. Again, you can play with the edge simplicity, but I kind of liked it like that. So I'm going to hit OK. And now, when I put the eyes back in it, there's the crystallized eyes on the cutout filter, and I'm kind of liking that. The next thing I want to do is do something on the background. So I'm going to do just a new layer. So if I click on here, it gives me this new layer. So let me get rid of all of those. So I'm looking just at this layer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to, and there's all kinds of things you could do in the background here, but I'm just going to take the pen tool, which is going to actually give us a set of vectors, and you're going to see what's going to happen. I'm just very quickly, and you can see I'm on green here, and that's okay. I could change it to maybe red so it's a little bit more visible. And then there's a dialog box up here, and I want to be on shape, not path, right? And you can see that because I have a color pick, this is kind of like Illustrator, there's a fill selected and there's no stroke selected. So I just click and then, okay, so I'm going to make what's called a new shape layer. So I'm going to start with the pen tool, and you can see there's a little dialog box up here, and I want to make sure that it's set at shape, not path. When I do that, it shows me the fill and the stroke. So this is a lot like Illustrator. I don't really want the stroke. What I want is the fill, and that's the color. So I can pick the color once I select that. That's going to be just fine. Okay. So on the pen tool, I'm just going to click a point and then come down. I'm going to click another one. And I want kind of a thin shape here. All right. Now what I'm going to do is go to the selection tool, and I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to do that by hitting the Option key, selecting it, dragging it over. Keep doing that. If you notice on the layers palette, each time I make a copy, it generates a new layer. All right. So now I'm going to take this one and I want to flip it over. So I'm going to go Edit, Transform, and I'm going to go Flip Vertical. And now I'm going to copy this. Option, 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 Option. So now I've created this little pattern that I'm going to work with. What I want to do is I want to merge all of those into one layer. Okay. Now, what you want to make sure is you only have what you're ready to merge. Don't have any other layers selected, and so go Layer and go Merge Visible. So that's what's selected, and you can see that now it drops it all into one layer. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to distort this. I'm going to go to Filter, and I'm going to go to Distort, and I'm going to go to something called Twirl. All right. So I had already twirled it. So if I go down here, there it is back to normal at 0. So I can twirl it left or I can twirl it right. Doesn't really matter. So that's pretty heavy. All right, I'm going to hit. So that's okay. So what I'm trying to do is have this twirl pattern behind her head, so I know that it's not exactly in the right place. So I'm going to move it a little bit, and then I'm going to make a copy of that. So I'm going to go Option, and I've copied it. And the one thing is now I want to flip this, so I'm going to go Edit, Transform, and I'm going to go Flip Horizontal. Now it's made this, and I'm going to move it a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and merge this. So I'm going to go Layer, Merge Visible. Okay. So my goal is that I want to see it behind her head. And see, right now it's in front, so I'm going to have to drag this down, have it be behind her. There we go. So now we've got this nice little layer behind her. And now I could go and color. This is fairly simple, but it shows you a couple of ways of working with the different layers and making this a little bit more creative. I'm not going to go through the coloring steps. You already know how to do that. I would try looking at other selection tools and see different ways of making selections and then cutting them. Okay, that's it.